Bants and Bants. Bants and Bants.
All systems go.
Bants and Bants.
Defiance.
Bants and Bants.
This rebel has a cause.
Bants and Bants.
We begin as wanderers, and we are wanderers still.
Welcome, everyone, to the 65th live edition of Bombs and Bants and Wednesday Rants. As always, I am your dedicated and humble host, John Wilder, coming to you from an undisclosed location hidden deep beneath the surface of the earth. With me, as always, is Mark.
Hey there.
And maybe the missus.
She's dead.
Still dead.
Yeah, and I'll start off with sharing a little bit about our week. The missus decided that she did not, she was too good to have oxygen in her lungs, and so I had to take her off to the hospital, and where they wouldn't keep her, but they sent her home after pumping about 3 gallons of antibiotics into her veins. So there's that, I guess.
I know you think after a while I would start to get better, and yet every week. So
Yeah,
next week I
every week.
probably will be dead. So I have that to look forward to, I guess.
Well, at least it'll be quiet.
My voice is a little better, though. You do have to admit.
Well, you can actually talk.
Yeah, yeah.
Mark, how about you? No hospitals involved in your world?
No, I have not had to go to the hospital.
That's good news. That's very good news. Trying to think of, it shows that we are nice and live. So life is good there. It's not showing up as live on my computer yet, but hey, I'll give it a minute.
How dare you?
So, okay. Looks like we got another great show for you tonight. So normally the missus does a bunch of show prep and she's got voice clips and whatnot, but tonight it's going to be mainly Think Real Fast. Do we have a sounder for Think Real Fast?
We do, but we also have a whole bunch of Christmas stuff too, because this is our pre-Christmas show.
I'm singing. I'm in a store and I'm singing. I'm in a store and I'm singing.
Hey! There's no singing in the North Pole.
Yes, there is.
No, it's not.
We sing all the time.
No, it's not.
Especially when we make toys.
Okay. Oh my gosh, you're literally 12, aren't you? Literally 12. Oh, so we also have a Christmas commercial. Oh.
Why weren't you at elk practice?
Okay. All right. Anyway, we've got. Let's I guess jump into the first news story. Actually, it's the first kind of.
Do we need our sounder?
Oh sure, yeah. If we have a sounder for Think Real Fast.
Sure, here it is.
Think real fast.
There you go. The first is Volodymyr Zelensky is in Washington, D.C., and he's giving speech to Congress right about now, I believe. Now, Mark, did you hear that David Letterman is interviewing Zelensky?
No, I didn't.
David Letterman is. I'm not making any of this up. I'm just wondering if there's going to be a top 10 list, the top 10 things I'm begging for tonight. Take it away, Paul Schaefer.
Money, more money.
Yeah,
money,
more
money, rockets, money.
Because apparently we're sending another $100 billion to the Ukraine.
You know, apparently no one in our country can count. I read in the Wall Street Journal today that we've given them actually $21 billion, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we've promised them way more than that.
Yes.
So we can't legitimately say, well, you know, we've only spent $21 billion on this. Yes, but we promised them so much more. And those aren't resources. That's our money.
Well,
Don't forget 10% for the big guy.
Yeah, exactly.
One of their return on investment for Hunter is just amazing, isn't it? Yes, indeed. So we've got that going for us, and nothing like a third world war with Zelensky coming in to pick our pockets right at the beginning of it. But we also have Unpainted Ukraine. Do you have that ready to go?
I absolutely do. Let's do
All
it.
right.
Hey there, folks. Are you looking for high-quality, barely used weapon of war for low you can't beat with barbed wire wrapped baseball bat low price? Then come on down and see me, Crazy Zelensky at Unpainted Ukraine. They call me Crazy Z, and believe me, it ain't for nothing. Need HIMARS rocket launcher, but can't afford hefty $5 million American price tag for new one? Get one here at Unpainted Ukraine for only $49.95. That's right, $49.95. And this week only, pick up a Harpoon Coastal Defense System, whole system, steel in box, for only $99.99. That's less than $100 when you would normally pay $300 million for a new one. Crazy! Now you might say, Crazy Z, these prices are crazy. How can you sell these items so cheap? You bought a business. And I always say, that is not your concern. And it's also not concern of American taxpayer. Besides, you know what happens to most customers who ask too many questions. So, come on down and see me, Crazy Z, at Unpainted Ukraine, located off interstate between Belarus and Romania.
But thankfully, we have other things to worry about rather than impending nuclear war with Russia. And so in Stanford, which apparently used to be a university, they have the elimination of harmful language initiative. I'm not making any of this up. This was on their website. Now, apparently, in order to get to this, you had to have a login, but fortunately, it is out and about in the world. Have you heard about this one, Mark?
I did.
Okay. I got the whole list, and care to guess how many pages it takes to describe all of the bad think words? 13 pages.
13 pages. Wow,
13
I would have thought
pages.
more.
Yes, indeed.
I would have thought more. They must not be trying very hard.
Yep. So I swear a lot of this is going to sound like it's a parody, but this is true. Got this from the Wall Street Journal. And so this is the Elimination of Harmful Language Initiative. And it's one of the actions prioritized in the Statement of Solidarity and Commitment to Action, which is a lot of verbs without a noun. And it was published by the Stanford CIO Council, whatever that is, and People of Color in Technology, which I used to think was color television, but I was thinking, is that PCIT? But no, it's Pocket, POC/IT. It's an affinity group, but they're very important because their goal is to eliminate harmful language in many, including racist, violent, and biased. What kind of bias? Disability, ethnic, all sorts of bias, language at Stanford websites and in their code. Yes,
Please do not use gendered language to address everyone.
I'm sorry, we're not starting with gender because gender starts with G, and we start with ableist because it starts with A. Now, I wonder when they're going to fight back against the tyranny of the alphabet, but there's only a little bit of time before we get to that, I'm sure. So we're on to page 2 now. You can't say addict, addicted, basket case, blind review. You can't say blind review. You can't say blind study. And I imagine blind man's bluff is off, but they didn't say that. Another word you can't use, or another phrase, committed suicide. Because apparently that's ableist language that trivializes the experience of people living with mental health conditions. Confined to a wheelchair. What's better than that? Person who uses a wheelchair. And jump on in when you hear any of these, because if they sound crazy, crazy is another word you can't use, but you can use surprising or wild.
It's just sanity challenged.
You can't use the word cripple as into, stop something from working, because it also means you should just use instead person with a disability. As in, this software is a person with disability. Oh my.
How dare you?
You can't say dumb. You have to say non-vocal or non-verbal. As in, this list is really non-vocal.
No!
Yes. Handicap parking. It's accessible parking. So that means anyone can use it, right? Oh, no, I guess not. Handicapped. Instead, say person with a disability. Pretty soon, disability will be out because it used handicapped replaced crippled, and you get the point. Insane, which is also surprising and wild. Come on down to Crazy Z's. Our prices are surprising and wild. No, that doesn't sound as good. Can't say lame. I have to say boring. But what about boring people? That's an ability, right? This is just ableist. There's more, and I could go through a whole bunch of them.
What I don't understand is, some of the words are even favorite words on the left, like trigger warning.
Well, yes.
That one's not allowed.
Mhm.
African American, I understand, wasn't allowed on it. Which
you have to go back to black.
So we're back to black now.
You have to sing that Amy Winehouse song?
So
I'm confused.
So in 5 more years, are we going to be back to colored person or Negro?
Well, and I think that and you pretty soon cognitive disability will fall out of phrase. You'll have to use the word retard again. I
will tell you that in my my day job, which is youth pastor for the Church of Wilder, I do run into some, I guess we're calling them black young people now, right? And the word in the National Association of Blank People, that's a common phrase they use.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's more. There's more. Senile, or almost through ableism, and I skipped a whole bunch of them. Senile, person suffering from senility, because you couldn't say Joe Biden is senile. You'd have to say Joe Biden is a person suffering from senility. I don't. Okay. Okay. Here's another good one. You can't use Philippine Islands. You have to call them Philippines or the Republic of the Philippines.
Sorry, that's my fault. Whenever I type the letter P, for some reason it plays our show open. Sorry.
Willie Cully notes, no more rap, RIP, a reality attractive person. I like that one. That's a good one. But that's not on Stanford's list. But culturally inappropriate. You can't use the word brave. You can't use the word brave, period.
Hard to talk about browsers, isn't it?
Well, because this term perpetuates the stereotype of the noble, courageous savage. You can't say bury the hatchet. Chief. So I guess, if you had a fire chief, you would call them, his name was Chief Johnson. It'd be.
Well, okay, so I noticed this over
just
the weekend.
Johnson, right?
We were at a thing at a local high school, and their mascot was the Chieftains, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of course we all know you can't have a mascot that is like the Braves or the Indians or the Chiefs or anything like that, despite the fact that we have an NFL team by that name. But anyway, I was thinking about that, and I was like, well, Chieftains, right? That's kind of Celtic in origins.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Except that their chieftains seem to be red and white and have feathers and a tomahawk hanging off their logo. And I was like, wonder how they got passed over. Why did you guys get so lucky?
Well, you can't say Geronimo.
Right.
You can't say guru. I'm surprised that you couldn't use the word Jedi. I mean, that would be insensitive against green people, I guess. Can't say Pocahontas.
We can all soon have the same mascot, and it will be the human beings.
So the spirit animal, I can't use that anymore. Uh, the term refers to an animal spirit that guides, protects one on a journey. So to equate it with an animal one likes just demean the significance of the term. Um, and you can't use the word tribe at
This is
all.
Stanford, right?
Mhm.
See, here's the
Isn't
one that I don't get is their thing on chief. I mean, that's a European word. I mean, obviously all the European tribes at one time had chiefs. The Vikings had chiefs.
No, we're just rewriting history at this point. I actually read, and this will be in tomorrow's Wall Street Journal, but I did read it tonight. It's in the next edition. It was about what school was it? Brown University, and they have implemented a new rule that specifically keeps people from discriminating against other people due to their caste. All right. So the only people this applies to are South Asians because those are the only people who practice caste system, right? Right. So the person who's writing it is a South Asian. And they get into the history of the caste system, and they have the audacity to write that the caste system was set up by the British when they colonized India.
That is such a lie.
Yes, I think we all know that. One would think if you're going to make an argument that maybe you should, I don't know, lie about the origins of what was going on in a manner that is so easily disproven. So, yeah. But I guess it doesn't matter anymore.
Well, you can't say
language
chairman.
is racist. How dare you use words?
Well, we're into gender now. We'll get to race in a minute. We have chairman and chairwoman. You can't use chairman or chairwoman because it lumps a group of people using gender binary language, which doesn't include everyone.
But I would think that chairperson discriminates against people who identify as animals.
Or people who identify as attack helicopters.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So offensive.
Can't call a person a fireman or a fireman because, and in Stanford, a college, you can't use the word freshman. You can't use the word freshman.
And you have to replace it with frosh, which I think is stupid, right? Because that's that derogatory slang. I don't know about you, but if you called somebody a frosh when I was in school, it was much more derogatory than freshman.
Can't use the word gentleman or guys or he or hermaphrodite. I don't recall using that in conversation very often.
Here's the problem with he. I thought we were all supposed to be able to pick exactly what pronouns we wanted to be able to use. So now you're no longer allowed to be able to choose the he pronoun?
That's correct.
Can't use the she pronoun either.
Well, I don't think that's on the list.
Well, and you actually can't even use the word preferred pronouns. They're just simply supposed to be pronouns, and you're supposed to guess. So,
Right. And if you guess wrong, God help you.
Mm-hmm. You can't use the word seminal because that's male dominated. You can't say she-male.
Just shemali.
You can't say transgendered. You can only use transgender. And you can't say you guys, which has been used forever. Other words you can't say, this is imprecise language. You can't say abort. So we'll have to just end the space flight. You can't say American. You have to use U.S. citizen because it's very offensive to people who live on the same continent but don't have the name. It's not the Canadian States of America. Anyway, you're whispering?
It's Mexico. It's Mexico.
Oh,
because Mexico has their butt hurt because they feel that they're the United States of Mexico, even though everyone calls them Mexico and everyone calls us the United States. Their butt hurt.
And America.
And that's where it comes from. Yes, that's where it comes from.
You can't say Hispanic. You have to use Latinx.
Even though Hispanics hate that.
Right, Hispanics hate that, yes.
But the thing is, it's Latina versus Latino.
Now, Hispanic people, I'm sorry, Latinx people, you don't get to choose. Listen to your white betters.
Yes. You can't say Indian summer because, this refers to the indigenous people are chronically late. No, it was a wonderful thing. Indian summer was a wonderful thing. Anyway, you can't use the word Karen anymore. can't use
Because the
peanut
Karens will
gallery.
all want to see your manager.
You can't say peanut gallery because it's the cheapest and worst section in theaters where many black people sat during the vaudeville era. I thought they weren't allowed. Oh well. All right. You can't say people.
This next one confuses me. You can't say
BIPOC? Yeah.
you can't say people of color, but you're supposed to use BIPOC or Black, Indigenous, and people of color.
Yep.
I mean, I guess
they're
I guess
carving.
the problem with people doesn't emphasize the Black and Indigenous part.
No, they're carving out the Asians. They're carving out the Asians.
No,
They
And
are.
besides,
Asian
you're
descent.
missing the real
Asian
reason.
descent.
You're missing the real reason, which is shut up. That's the real reason.
Shut up!
See?
They said that we can't use the word straight. Instead, we have to say heterosexual. And I'm telling you, straight is our word. You're not allowed to use it.
I agree.
And then they change the meaning of things like stupid. They've changed it to boring or uncool. That isn't what stupid means.
No, it does not. Survivor, you can't say the word survivor, which is actually somewhat admirable. So now instead of Holocaust survivor, it's a person who's been impacted by Holocaust. I'm sure that'll be popular in some circles.
Well, haven't we all been impacted by the Holocaust? I've been impacted by the Holocaust. I went to the Holocaust Museum display that was here in town. I was impacted by that. So thusly, I am a person who has been impacted by the Holocaust.
Yes.
And I like this other one down here because it shows the implicit racism behind the people that drew up this list. Because tar baby, which you're now supposed to use difficult problem instead of it, but they explain this is a dismissive term for a black person. I don't know. I've never associated it as meaning a black person. I've never heard it used in that way.
Really, and what Stanford, I think, needs to do, and all leftists needs to go back through history and just comb the archives for any derogatory term that they can find for a black person, so that all the racists out there who might want to use them now have a vast vocabulary of which they can choose from.
Let's go.
All these words we've forgotten.
Well, let's go to the next one. The next one's one of my favorites. Is thug. And thug comes actually from Thuggee, which was a cult in India that strangled its victims. And so the Thuggee were actually eliminated, all killed by the British in like 1820, 1830. That's how violent they were. But now it says, although the term refers to a violent person or criminal, it often takes on a racist connotation. So anyway.
Because the people who gave it the racist connotations are leftists.
Yep. And user, can't use user anymore. You have to say client, even though the things are very, very different. Client versus user? They're not the same word.
So like a drug client?
Yes. And any word using the word black is absolutely not usable. So cowboys, the guy who was wearing the black hat, well, you can't use black hat, but you have to call them a malicious criminal.
So if I'm wearing black shoes, how do I describe the shoes that I am wearing?
I believe you call them cakewalks. Oh no, you can't use the word cakewalk. Or black box, or blackballed, or blacklist, or brown bag, because apparently a bag that is brown, you can't call a brown bag. Okay.
Brown
Your turn,
bag. So so what am I supposed to use if I'm bringing a lunch that's in a bag that's made out of paper that hasn't been bleached white?
I believe you're supposed to call that a grandfather. Oh, nope. You can't use that because it has roots in the grandfather clause. And you can't say grandfather because, it's a word that has a very significant meaning that is instantly understandable to any lawyer, but no. Okay. Gray hat hacker. Hacker exploits a weakness. You have to say hacktivist. You can't use the word master, as in a master painter, because master painters apparently
electrician?
enslaved people.
Can we no longer teach the oh, I'm blanking on the word. That system where you have the apprenticeship system.
Yes, again, and you
We can't talk
presented
about
your
that anymore.
masterpiece.
Mhm.
In order to
Well,
show,
But
yeah.
doesn't
The ver-
Stanford offer a degree that is 2 years past a bachelor's degree? And is the degree not called a master's degree?
well, not anymore. It's now going to be called the adept in whatever the thing is.
You can't use the word
So you get your
slave.
bachelor's degrees in economics, but when you get instead of a master's degree, then they'll just finally conclude that you're adept at economics.
So you can't use the word slave anymore in any form because the historical context of this term involves oppression of a group of people who were enslaved, thought of as less than human, and unable to exercise free will. Like, where did the word come from? It was, Slav. From Slavic people. Okay, well, all right. Anyway, I suppose we could go on with this list all night because there's still 5 or 6 different pages. You can't say crack the whip, abusive relationship, beating a dead horse, because it normalizes violence against animals. This was the most snowflakey
Against dead
list.
animals?
Against animals. You can't use hip hip hooray. You can't use hip hip hooray. That's supposed to be wrong.
Oh, this is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So you know how white space, is discussing the empty space on a piece of paper that has been filled in with type.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you can't use it because, according to them, it assigns a value connotation based on color, i.e., white equals good.
Yes, but white
Yeah,
space
which
is
a
not
bunch of
good.
regular-
I mean, when you're doing
So-
layout, interior white space isn't good.
And there's not more than one way to skin a cat because that expression normalizes violence against animals. Not kidding. This is all.
And as someone who has punched a
Stanford?
cat, I take offense at that. Now, before I get email about this, the cat had it coming. It bit me 3 times,
Oh,
and I did punch
And,
the
look at
cat. And
this,
finally,
and then you
the
have
cat
to-
went, "Oh, I'm sorry. Was I not supposed to bite you? My problem. My bad. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that." And then we had an
Yep.
agreement, and then we were
Well,
fine for the rest of his life.
Apparently, we're now supposed to use the passive voice on a lot of stuff. I just scrolled down the list a little bit further to where it says person list. So instead of a disabled person, which would be active, we now have to do passive person with a disability. Or instead of a homeless person, it's person without housing.
But
Boy, our
Immigrant
English
is
teacher's gonna be
a
pissed.
person who's
okay, hey, guess what? Tara Bright notes you can't say old lady anymore either, and Willie notes that politician is egregiously offensive, should be removed. So, yeah, I would be upset if someone called me a politician. But guess what? Skipping off the Stanford list, and there's another exciting bit of language news that I got for you. The Marines are getting ready to get rid of this phrase, yes, sir. Because you have to have yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, which would imply gender, just like the B in LGBT, which would be B for 2. Well, anyway, I'll stop right there. But apparently the Marines are getting rid of the phrase, yes, sir.
I guess my question is what the hell is wrong with our society? And number 2, why are we letting these bedwetting dim bulbs get away with this bullshit? And normally I wouldn't swear, but this type of idiocy calls for harsh language.
You're calling them dim. Wait, what was it?
I don't know.
Dim bulbs?
I was on my soapbox. I
You
don't know.
were on a roll.
Yes, I was on a roll.
I'm pretty sure they'd all be offended by that.
I'm sure they would.
well.
And
You
I'm
know,
sure that was my
have
point.
I'm going to take the contrary view here. I'm going to say that I agree with getting rid of the yes, sir. I think a couple things they could replace it with, at least give it a shot, experiment, see which works better. Either F you or yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. Did you say yes, sir?
I
or
do
yeah,
like
sure?
that. I like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right, so this is probably this is a little bit more than halfway. So I think it's time to do our Christmas poem. This is either a visit from Saint Maga or the insurrection before Christmas. So are we ready for this reading?
I believe we are, yes.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the White House, not a Congress critter stirred. Pelosi was home with her louse. The press signed new laws all day and all night, and hoped that free money might lengthen his stay. Oh, I got that wrong. The
You
taxpayers
gotta
were
read
nestled.
it right, man. Come on, you're butchering
All right.
stuff that I wrote.
Okay, you're right.
Do I need to take over for this?
No, I got it.
Are you
The press
positive
signed
about
it.
this?
Yes, because it would just kill people to have to listen to you for go all the way through.
You're killing
this.
me to have to listen to you butcher this
Okay.
thing that I wrote.
The press signed new laws all night and all day in hopes that free money might lengthen his stay. The taxpayers were nestled all snug in their beds, while worry about food prices plagued their poor heads. Dr. Jill in her nightie, and Slow Joe in his cap, had just settled in for Joe's afternoon nap. When on the south lawn there arose such a clatter, Capitol cops sprang forth to see what was the matter. Slow Joe went forth too, to prove his brave merit. He reached for a weapon, but instead grabbed a ferret. Armed to the teeth, and one with a weasel, the group peered through a curtain, sure to see an upheaval. But what did their wondering eyes did appear? A group of old men with flags and snow gear. They were led by one man in camo and a red MAGA hat, and Slow Joe spied them. He thought, wow, they're all fat. MAGA man whistled and shouted. He called the polls out by name. Hey Schumer, hey Biden, hey Stoll, hey Lee, hey Omar, hey Schiff, hey Waters, and AOC. There's something to remember in the land of the free. I don't work for you. No, you work for me. No answer was heard except a shot made of lead, and soon in the snow an old soldier lay dead. The rest tried to flee, though many were caught. They were jailed by the Poles, who heard their words not. So listen, my friends, as we gather far and near, to celebrate Christmas with joy and good cheer. Choose your words carefully in the land of the free, because there might be a mic hidden in that tree. And think of the others exercising their right, locked up in jail, all day and all night. In prison they wait at the mere suggestion that they did take part in the 1224 insurrection. There's your the night before the insurrection. So the missus wrote that entirely. She did a fantastic job. I probably would have taken on more of a Zelensky scene where he went down the White House chimney and took all the silverware.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's probably where I would have gone with it. Okay, next story. Alex Jones says that Luciferian reptilian space aliens run Hollywood. I like it. And speaking of space aliens running Hollywood, Avatar: The Way of Cash is now receiving complaints because of. Are we ready? Drum roll.
I'm sorry, I don't have a drum roll.
That's okay. Cultural appropriation. Have you heard of this one, Mark?
No.
Yeah, apparently, indigenous peoples are claiming that the various aspects of various indigenous cultures around the world are being stolen and used in this movie. And I just want to say that it was interesting that I'm surprised Cameron isn't being skewered for having such a anti-immigration movie. You know, all of these people fleeing, these refugees from Earth showing up. And they're just being treated with such disrespect by
people who are just looking for a better life.
They're looking for a better life, but the Na'vi don't want to share their land.
Well, if they don't want to share their land, then damn it, they deserve to die.
Yep. Oh, we probably shouldn't go much further on down that one. JFK info. There's more information that's been released, and I guess Tucker Carlson had a leaker that claimed that the CIA was definitely involved. Have you? Did you hear about that one, the missus?
I did not hear about that one. No.
Well, it's interesting that as soon as that came out, what did we hear? What was that article you read?
Oh, that it was again an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal that said I knew Oswald and he acted alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought
And
it was weird because just reading that, I thought it was weird because that came out like last week. It's not like it came out on November 22nd, which would have made more sense. And so I'm sitting here, and then I start hearing this, that it's all these other stories in the news are coming up about the Kennedy assassination. And I'm like, why all of a sudden do we have all these news stories about the Kennedy assassination? What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
What misdirection is this?
And again, all of these stories that are coming out, they're all stories that are to the tune of, hey, nothing went on here.
Believe the government because they're not wrong.
They're not wrong.
And really, that's kind of what I think it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think the best case scenario, assuming they ever release the rest of the documents, because they're still holding back a bunch. I think the best case scenario is we learn that the CIA was aware of the threat and didn't do anything about it or pass it on.
Yep.
I think that's the best case scenario right now.
Yeah. Well, let's put it this way. Here's the conclusion I came to, Mark. They're not keeping things locked up to make sure that people aren't mad at the Russians, are they? They're not protecting Russia, but they're not protecting Cuba.
And how the hell do you, as the U.S. government, know a guy who lived in Russia, who defected, who had been in our military, who lived in a town where the president was going to visit, and you not have eyes on him?
Yep. It
was either complete and total abject incompetence on behalf of our government, which is always a strong possibility, or they were in on it.
Well, see, the interesting part is the most of the documents that are being withheld apparently have to do with the CIA station in Mexico City, which would have pertained to Oswald going down there to meet with, or his attempt to meet with the KGB station chief or whatever they call them down in Mexico. So.
Mm-hmm. Huh. But they're not trying to protect the Russians. That's the thing we know.
No.
All right. Let's move along. The FBI has apparently gone completely paranoid schizophrenic, and they are suffering from a bizarre conspiracy theory where they think that people believe they're manipulating Twitter just because they stopped the Hunter Biden laptop story right before an election. It's amazing how paranoid those people at the FBI are.
And that there are emails back and forth between Twitter executives and the FBI showing that exactly that happened.
And that, that the FBI documents show that parents who objected to CRT were targeted as domestic terrorists by the FBI.
Right.
Yep. So anyway, they are just paranoid schizophrenics there.
Believe the government. Why would they ever lie to you?
Well, because what happens? Well, let's look at this. Incentives. What happens when the government says that the border is effectively open, and tens of thousands of illegals are streaming to Texas, where it's going to be freezing tomorrow?
See, now this is just misinformation because what's his name? Mayorkas Antonio, is that his first name? Starts with something. Anyway, has specifically said the border is not open. The border is closed. And I don't know about you, but I believe everything the government tells me. So how could this possibly be happening? Those pictures must all be faked.
When they walk across the river and they walk straight into a bus, because that's where they're going, because they get bused and then shipped off into the country, that means the border's closed. Apparently they need to get that idea, that the border open phrase, on the Stanford list, I think. Let's see. The average rent in Canada is now $2,000, but guess what? Those aren't real dollars. Those are Canadian dollars. Oh, wait. Our dollars aren't real either. Mark, how many of Trump's NFTs did you buy?
All of them.
All of them? Guess how much you made? $4.5 million in sales of those things. He sold JPEGs for $4.5 million.
Oh, shuck it, duck it now.
Yep. And his taxes came out today, and he paid zero for several years, which I believe, technically, when he addressed that, he says, "That makes me smart."
That is what he said.
And that's right. And summing it all up, there was an earthquake in California, and nobody noticed because Zelensky was here. Mark, anything to add on this Christmas Eve edition of Bants and Bants? Any particular family traditions you'd like to share with us?
Family traditions. Well, yes, there is the family tradition. We take the cats out back. We have one for each of us. I didn't know if you knew we had that many cats, but we do.
That's a lot of cats.
Although some of them don't want to come near us anymore. I don't know why. Anyway, we take them out back, and then we have a catapult contest to see who can throw the cats as far as we can, swinging them by the tail. And whoever wins gets to open one gift on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, see, that's very funny because when my mom was ill and I was taking care of her, I also had to take care of her cats, which live with me now. But anyway, I was always telling her that I was going to build a catapult because her cats would do such terrible things in her house, and I was responsible for cleaning it up. And I was just going to take it and launch those cats right into the sun.
Oh.
And now
Mark.
they live at my house. Do you need a couple more? They'll volunteer.
Do you have any real traditions that you'd like to share with us?
No, we don't. We're actually pretty boring on that. We have, of course, some of this had to be dealt with the fact, we had, with kids and all that, and you have to do the whole Santa Claus thing. Hopefully there's no young kids listening to our show. But anyway, but I mean, with that, so we wouldn't have really a whole lot of gifts under the tree on Christmas Eve, but my wife would always, has always made like pajamas for everyone. And we just sort of open those on Christmas Eve. Mm-hmm. So that was our tradition. I don't think she made pajamas this year though. And I didn't want to wait and have to stay up all night wrapping up presents this year. So I was like, this last weekend, I was like, the heck with this. They're all wrapped. They're all underneath the tree. I told the kids that I put them there so that they would be mentally tormented trying to figure out what they got. And that's that.
Yeah, I think our biggest tradition is that the youngest one hands out all the presents, and they're open from youngest to oldest.
Yep.
And so that means I open
youngest that can read.
Yes, the youngest that can read. But since everybody can read now, we're in pretty good shape.
Well, it's still Pete T-Bone because Pugsley has not yet managed that. So. He's in the top 1% of the country on his. I know, and he did actually manage to squeak out an A in English too. He showed me that.
Good for him. Yesterday. So straight A's.
Yeah, I think he had like an 89.67%, which totally by skin of his teeth. He managed.
I guess he speaks English.
Yeah, apparently so.
Well, on that note, I would like to wish every one of our viewers and listeners a wonderful and merry and Christmas, and the best. We'll be back the week right before New Year's, so we'll have the New Year's pre-New Year's.
That would be next week.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, wish you all the very best, and God bless you all. Mark.
Thank you. Yes, Merry Christmas to everyone. And all joking aside, remember this is a time to celebrate Christ and his birth. So,
amen. Mrs.
Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll see you next week. Y'all come back now, you hear?